Hey everyone, it's Tim again here. And last night at Bible study, we were talking about Moses, how they had to wander around the wilderness for 40 years because they thought that, they didn't think the 10 spies did see giants and forgot how big their God was. Now, what's interesting is this story actually has a connection to one that's later. Because if you pay attention, a couple chapters afterwards, when they're in the wilderness, there we go, I can form words. But when they're in the wilderness, Moses actually gives them a name, says what they're called, Anakites. He even makes the phrase, who can stand against the Anakites? What's interesting about this is if you go back into historical recollections or historical studies, a lot of biblical scholars believe that where they entered was a town called Gath. Then a few years later, as the Philistines are going to fight the Israelites, they bring out their champion whose name is Goliath of Gath. He stood about 9 feet tall approximately and was bigger than anything any of the warriors had ever seen. So when you look at the size and you look at where he was from, it can be determined that Goliath was not Philistine. Not by blood he wasn't. You see, Gath was taken over by Israel and then taken from Israel by the Philistines, which means they would have had everyone who was indigenous to the area as Philistine. When you look at how big Goliath was and where he was from, it can be determined that Goliath was Anakite. This will show you that if you don't deal with something when God says, it will come back again. Not only that, but if you look closely at the challenge Goliath gives David when he shows up, when he comes in and tries to fight him, oh, come here and I'll feed your flesh to the birds. This is interesting because every single time someone comes up naming God, the adversary immediately challenges God. Pharaoh to Moses, I don't know this God, neither will I let your people go. Nebuchadnezzar to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, oh, then what God will save you from my hands? Goliath doesn't even mention God. He's flat out going, hey, it's me versus you. To me, this seems strategic. Because before then, the Philistines have fought the Israelites several times, with Israel winning every single time. So, I believe Goliath knew exactly who the God of Israel was. And instead of challenging God, knowing he'll lose, his idea was, okay, I'm going to psych this little kid out to where he forgets to call on God just like everybody else on the hill did. They all ran from me. I'm going to make him afraid too. How many times has the enemy tried that same exact strategy? Oh no, you're losing everything. What are you going to do? How are you going to save yourself? Oh no, your family's going crazy. Oh no. Oh no, one of your family members is dying or even has dementia. How are you going to take care of everyone? You see, that is one of the enemy's main strategies to defeat the children of God It's to make them forget God and realize how finite they are. If you look at David's response, yeah, you come at me with a spear and a javelin, but I come at you in the name of the God of the armies of Israel. Yeah, he acknowledged that Goliath was big, and then he immediately turned and acknowledged how big his God is. David's faith was so built into his God, he saw that God was going to take. He knew that God was going to take care of him. And everyone knows how this story ends. David takes a stone. Oh, hold on. Sorry. I just thought of something again. Before David comes to battle, he walks over and he chooses 5 smooth stones. You know why he did that? Because David had 4 brothers. Goliath had 4 brothers. And each one was probably just as big, if not bigger than Goliath. David was so reliant on his God that he decided, okay, I'm going to take this giant out, and if anybody else comes at me, I'm taking them out too. It's just interesting because you see Moses, the leader of the Israelites, making the statement, who can stand against the Anakites? And then this little 12-year-old shepherd boy does exactly that. That's all I have for this time. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.